It's not just about fast licks, you know. You need to learn the notes on the fretboard. Quick warning, this isn't one of those quick fix videos that says learn the notes on the fretboard in 3 minutes. Why? Because that isn't possible. You can't learn all the notes on the fretboard in 3 minutes. This video teaches you how to do it properly, comprehensively, and learn a whole new other bunch of skills to boot. So if you want to do it properly, watch this. Howdy folks, learning the notes on the fretboard is super important. I don't care if other guitarists say it's not important, believe me, it is, and here's why. I'm always thinking about root notes all the time. Where are the root notes? So if I'm playing something like this, root note, root note, root note, root note. So that little ditty that I did was littered with me following root notes. Without knowing where those root notes are, I literally can't do that, you know? So it's really important. On top of that, when I play the root note, I know where the minor third is. So I know this. That relationship is a minor third because I know the root note. And I know that shape from the root note down, 2 back. Okay, helps me find the minor third. Root, minor third, root. So all the time when I'm playing these little lines, I'm thinking about where the root notes are and I'm following them around. And if I didn't know the notes on the fretboard, I just wouldn't be able to do that. You know, it's really important. You might find some guys out there who say you don't need to learn the notes on the fretboard. You do, okay? Just because they don't know them doesn't mean it's not important. So learning all the notes on the fretboard is absolutely crucial. So how do you do it, okay? Now let's talk about why you know the E and the A string really well. Because almost every guitarist knows all the notes on the E and the A string really well. Why? Because of these. Bar chords, yeah? You know the notes on the E and the A string because you use those as reference points for bar chords. So when you're doing your A chord here, you know that's an A note. When you're doing a G chord, you know that's a G note, right? It's simple, and that's why you know them. So I don't need to tell you ways of learning the E and the A string. All you've got to do is think about bar chords. If you don't do this already, when you play bar chords, this is your reference points. So that would be a D chord, so therefore there's a D note, G chord, G note, right? Now people tend to play bar chords off the E and the A strings. That's it. They don't use chords off the other strings. That's why they don't know them as well. So what you need to do is kind of start playing chords off the other strings. That will help you a lot. So how do we do that? Well, I'm just going to show you 2 really simple shapes to use, okay? So let's talk about a new A minor chord. We're going to play A minor like this, right? So instead of playing it like this, we're going to play it like this. It's the first chord is Stairway to Heaven, isn't it? Right? So now my root note is here, right? So that's A minor, that would be B minor. Now what I'm doing is I'm seeing this 7th fret of the D string as an A note, right? I'm seeing this 9th fret on the D string as a B note. D minor, I'm seeing that as a D note. Now because I'm referencing from the D string, I start to learn the D string really well. So what I suggest you do is just simply ban bar chords from the E and the A string for a week and just play them from the D string, right? The major chord, that's the minor chord. The major chord is just that one. Yeah, probably know that from an F, just like an F moved up, right? So we've got major chords from the D string, minor chords from the D string. Play those a whole bunch and you learn the D string. Not only do you learn the D string, but you learn some cool chords that you can use as well. The problem with conventional bar chords is they're quite low-endy, if you like, especially E-shaped bar chords. There's very low-end boomy notes on there. But this one, if I'm playing an A chord here, cuts through a lot better. You'll find that cuts through the mix or that A minor because it's got those high notes on, yeah, and that jumps out a bit more. So they're 2 very useful chord shapes, you know, so you get 2 for the price of 1. Another thing to think about, this is aside from the other things I'm saying, is to understand how tones and semitones work. This will enable you to go up the strings. It doesn't really help you learn the notes on the fretboard straight away, but it helps you work out the notes on the fretboard if you don't already know the string. So a bit of a sort of intermediary thing, if you like. So let's start on, let's do the A string, okay? A to B, tone, 2 frets. B to C, semitone, 1 fret. C to D, tone, 2 frets. D to E, tone, 2 frets. E to F, semitone, 1 fret. F to G, tone, 2 frets. And G to A, tone, 2 frets. So between the E and the F and the B and C, there is a semitone. Between all the other notes, it's a tone. So just think E to F semitone, B to C semitone. Now, if we take the G string, we just follow the same principle. We just go G, G to A, tone, right? A to B, tone. B to C, semitone. C to D, tone, etc. We do it off the B string. B to C, semitone. C to D, tone. D to E, tone. So therefore, we can work out all the notes on an individual string like that, okay? But that's not enough to memorize where all the notes are, because you want to be able to jump to them straight away, okay? For that, you need to follow the system where we're working out the chords, all right? So we've done the E string and A string, and you probably know those already. We've just done the D string. So what about the other strings? Well, the high E string is the same as the low E string, easy. So we've only got G and B left. So let's do the B string first. You'll see why in a minute. Now for the B string, we're going to play a little triady chord. So we're going to play, for major, we're going to play this. So it's a D chord, right? But off these 3 strings. If I slide it up here, it's an E chord. My reference point is here, okay? So I'm thinking D, reference point D. E, reference point E. I want to play A, reference point there. B, okay, F, G, and I'm jumping around, but all I'm doing is I'm using that as my reference point. So this will mean you start to learn a new chord that you're probably not using. You probably use D like that, but I don't use that D shape to move around like this. If you do, well done. We're learning the B string by applying these chord shapes, okay? Now we can also incorporate the other system with the semitones and the tones. We think D. When I get to E, it's a tone, okay? When I get to F, semitone. All right, but all the time I'm thinking of this finger. Where is it on? Oh, it's on the G, yeah? This will help you learn the B string. If you want to do minor chords, think of a D minor chord like that. All right, that would be E minor. That would be A minor, B minor, G minor. Yeah? Again, you can follow the tone, semitone system to help you learn those. So now we've got E string, A string wired. D string we did the new chords from. B string we did the new chords from. And the chords, or the triads on the B string, they'll also jump out a load, okay? Because they're very sort of toppy rather than lowery. Is that a word? Toppy, lowery? I don't know. But you know what I mean, okay? Now the G string we're going to learn in a different way, because we've learned all the other strings using chords, yeah? So we're going to kind of treat the G string on its own. And learn it a different way. And our brain isn't getting too confused. Your brain isn't thinking, oh God, I've got chords off the G string as well. Yeah. The G string, what we're going to do is we're going to take kind of a midpoint, right? Now, it's not exactly a midpoint, but we're going to take this note here, which is kind of halfway along the string about, yeah? All right. So that is a D note. So we're going to think, right, 7th fret D. Now, because we know that's a D, down there is a C. Because D to C, tone, right? And then D to E, tone. So I've got D, C, D, E. And just do this do the G string over a day. You'll get it done over a day, right? So I'm thinking, right, D. That's my starting point. D, C, D, E. I know that's G, right? Octave, I know that's G. That's G. So 2 down from G is F. That's got to be F. Okay, so I've got D, C, D, E, G, F. And I'm kind of relating it all to that note and that note. So I've got D, C, E, G, F, back to C. Now if I go down from C, 1 down would be B, wouldn't it? 2 down, A, G. So G, or 2 up from G. Tone up from G is A, B, C. So what I'm doing is my starting point was there. I know it's not exactly in the middle of the string. So we could have either started from here or here, really. I didn't want to start from here because that would be a D flat, right? So what I'm doing is starting from a known point and I'm expanding off there. I know that point. I know this is G down here. I know there's G there, all right? And I'm just expanding that, and I'm talking to myself. Talk to yourself. You know, that's a good thing to do. And once you've got all that, you then think about the points in between the notes. So D, C, D flat, C, C sharp, same thing. Yeah? Okay. G, F, G flat, F sharp. So the sharps and flats are just in between the notes that you've learned. Obviously not between B and C and E and F, all right? So now we've learnt the G string as well. So now the E and the A string were wired anyway. The D we learnt using chords. The B we learnt using chords. And the G we learnt using the kind of the midpoint and then expanding out from there. So now you've got hold of all the notes on all the strings on the entire fretboard. Now this is not going to happen in 5 minutes. And any video out there that says they're going to teach you the notes on the fretboard in 5 minutes, they're lying, because you just can't do that. It's not like a piano. Piano is easy to learn the notes. You can teach that to a beginner on the first lesson. Guitar, you can't. Guitar is like having, if you imagine that's your keyboard with another keyboard behind it, and then another behind it, and another behind it, another behind it. It's like having 6 keyboards stacked apart from each other. Yeah. So the guitar is far more complex to learn the notes on than a keyboard, right? So it takes time. So don't expect to learn it overnight. If you can get the notes on the fretboard all wired in a few weeks, great, you're doing well. And that's cool, just to think, you know, if you start doing what I tell you to do in 3 or 4 weeks, you'll know all the notes on the fretboard. That's pretty impressive, I reckon. Yeah. But I would start doing your D-shaped bar chords, maybe do those for a week or so. Yeah. Then think about the B triads that we were doing. Do those for a week or so. Then the G string, break that up. The G string won't take you that long, right? The advantage of doing the D and the B string, like I said, is you learn these cool chords as well, which adds another layer to your playing. Once you've learned all the notes on the fretboard, it really opens things up for you. It is super important, all right? So have fun with that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, all super important, okay? Really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before Christmas, so please help me out with that. Right at this moment, it's actually 640 subscribers. Hopefully it'll be more when you watch this video, and it'll just keep going up and up and up. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon, some really good stuff on there. And as always, catch you next time.